How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with Alex and Ryan. Some nuggets, slowly being dropped into the hot stove and rumor mill over the past couple days. And I don't think Michael Kay has ever been known for dropping sourced information, but he did say something interesting we want to address, and whether or not this would be a good fit for the Yankees. Michael Kay said that Munetaka Murakami is of interest to the Yankees long term in 2026. So if you don't know who this is, 6'2", 213 pounds, Japanese international talent. Last year played 143 games for Yakult. I don't know, Yakult. Not sure how to say that, but I'm doing my best. Over 500 at-bats. Hit 244, 379 OBP, 472 slugging rate, had 33 homers, 86 RBIs. He's got some good power. The Yankees obviously looking for more power, especially at first base, is a left-handed batter. So maybe would be a good fit in Yankee Stadium. I'm not so sure about his defensive metrics at the position, but for the most part, I don't think he was, he had a 952 fielding percentage? Not great. Over 141 games at third base, actually. At first base, he had a perfect fielding percentage, but not that many games, only 15. So kind of an interesting player, Ryan. Don't know much about him, but I'm sure you've already dove into his advanced analytics. So I'm going to lean on you for this one to kind of tell us about, what is his name again? Murakami. Okay. Tell us about
Murakami.
That
may be, getting his pronunciation down, I think, will be the toughest thing to break down in this episode. And it's tough too, because with pronunciations, they don't have them on Baseball Reference for international players, which I think is completely BS. I want to know how to pronounce his name properly, but I believe it's Munetaka Murakami. And Munetaka Murakami is someone who, he was probably on pace to be one of the best hitting prospects to come out of the Nippon Baseball League. And I shouldn't say prospects, I should say players, because they're not prospects. They've been playing at a pro level. They're not amateurs or anything of the sort. They are pros. But over the last 2 years, we have seen a sharp decline. His 2020 and 2021 and 2022 strikeout rates sat at 22.3%, 21.6%, and 20.9%, which, it's a little bit more than the league average for the Nippon Baseball League, but it's still good enough. We're talking a 45th, 50th percentile strikeout rate. That's fine considering he was hitting home runs like it was no one's business. I think he set the record for a domestic player in terms of home runs in a single season with 59. But this 2 years since have been brutal for him. Now, his OPS has remained above average. It is a dead ball era kind of going on in the NPB right now, so run scoring is way down. His 875 OPS and 851 OPS in 23 and 24 are still above average, but the big red flag is a 28.1% strikeout rate and then a 29.5% strikeout rate. Now, it's not just a matter of better competition that will cause that strikeout rate to inflate when he comes over to the big leagues, but more so just the quality of stuff he's seeing. Velocity or fastball velocity is a lot lower in the NPB than the major leagues. I think it's lower by at least a mile per hour, or at least a mile per hour and a half, and that's a pretty considerable margin. If you have the average pitcher throwing 94, 95 in the big leagues, and it's 92, 93 in the NPB, and you're struggling to make contact consistently, that mark's only going to get worse when you get over to the big leagues. It's only going to get worse when guys are throwing 97, 98. Movement profiles are better. We have a better understanding, or more technology and resources, and as a result, a better understanding of how to improve pitch movement and all that stuff. It is not an insult to the Nippon Baseball League. It's just a result of just funding. Major League Baseball is a multi-billion-dollar operation. It is more so money and just the size of the league versus the Nippon Baseball League. The Nippon Baseball League, I think, is very talented. There's, again, a reason why Team Japan has had so much success in the World Baseball Classic and why so many guys have come over and had success. But again, when you're someone like Munetaka Murakami and you're struggling to make contact against guys throwing not as hard as the guys in Major League Baseball with not the same level of finesse in terms of their pitch movement, you're going to have issues. You're going to struggle. You're going to, it's not going to be a pretty transition. So, as you mentioned, Alex, the validity of the source in this regard is not a Jeff Passan or even an Andy Martino or even a Jack Curry. But, Michael Kay, I imagine, does get to hear some things. He's the voice of the New York Yankees on TV. But I really do doubt. Like, I'm going to press a heavy doubt button on the idea that the Yankees would do anything team building wise that would keep their options open, specifically for Munetaka Murakami. What I do think is a very valid point is that they may be keeping their options open to add a long-term deal next winter when guys like Kyle Tucker hit free agency. But I think it's a long shot to assume that the New York Yankees are like positioning themselves to get someone that, quite honestly, like just doesn't profile or project the same way that guys like Suzuki or Masataka Yoshida to have on the offensive side of the ball, and definitely not like Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the pitching side of the ball or Roki Sasaki. So I hope Murakami has a big year and that we can revisit this conversation a year from now and I can eat crow and say, nope, he is an elite player coming over from the MPB. The 2 years that he had down years, those are just mechanical issues. He worked through them. The Yankees are going to bring him in and he's going to be a stud. But what I get from here is I think he would be Joey Gallo, and not the version of Joey Gallo with Texas where he was an all-star in 2019, the version with the Yankees, Nationals, and Twins where he's been a below-average hitter and honestly a below-average major league starter.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that version of Joey Gallo, I don't really want to. I don't want to go down that road because talking about a guy that struck out like a 40% clip with us. He's gonna strike out a lot. Yeah, he'll hit some home runs every now and then, but he's gonna be extremely frustrating to watch. I would rather just develop Ben Rice. Like, why do we got to do stuff like this? Why do we got to go? Like, yeah, I know we're not doing a lot of stuff in the international pool lately and overseas in terms of Japan. Now, of course, we have a couple Dominican players, but why on earth do we have to make decisions like this? I personally don't think this is that real. I don't think the fit is that great. I don't think that you have Ben Rice on this roster. You bring in Paul Goldschmidt. Ben Rice plays so well in our stadium. He's a well-liked guy. He's super, super kind. I mean, we've talked to him on social media all the time. And, this is someone that we have a high conviction for. And he's young. You know what I mean? Like, this is someone that the Yankees have been developing to be a certain player in their stadium for this team. I'll ask you this, Ryan. Would you rather just go with the Ben Rice and have him develop and develop in real time rather than go with Murakami, who I don't necessarily think, you're saying it pretty blatantly, is not a great fit for this team?
Yeah, it's not even like just specific to the Yankees. I think it's specific to the league. Like, he has some very, very big issues. I'm going to put a hot take out there. Number one, we're going to revisit that Ben Rice take because I'm going to say something that I think some people might be outraged by in that regard. But kind of going back to like market value even is like, people thought he was going to get a $100 million deal, maybe a $200 million deal despite being a first baseman. Is he going to get 2 guaranteed MLB seasons? Like, how many guaranteed years is Murakami going to get? And is he really going to want to come over if his numbers aren't like, if his strikeout rates don't get better, right? Like, who is driving the ship on the Munetaka Murakami sweepstakes? We've seen that teams usually get below market value, when it comes to signing a player out of the MPB. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and I will stand by this take, at $325 million over 10 years is not what the market value would be for him if he was born in the United States and grew up in the United States, where he would like have come through pro ball, through high school or college or whatever, hit free agency and all that stuff, done all the stuff. Like, if he pitched the way he pitched in the MPB and you just like, you kind of obviously have to regress some of the numbers because it's Major League Baseball, he would have gotten $400 million. Like, he's so good. Another example, Seiya Suzuki. Seiya Suzuki didn't even get $100 million, and he's a stud. He should have got $100 million, but that's because he did that in the MPB, and you're going to have to discount, if you're a team and players coming over from the MPB understand this as well, your caliber of player or the caliber of player you're seen as may not always reflect in your market value because there is that like question mark of if you can actually do it at the big league level. Murakami, like, how many guaranteed years would you give this guy? I wouldn't give him more than 1. I would see him as like a project player, and a project player is not the kind of player you import onto a contending roster. I think he's a better fit for another team that's maybe in a rebuilding phase. And then bringing it back to Ben Rice, I mean, Ben Rice is 25 years old. Murakami is 24 years old. He's going to turn 25 in February. Rice will turn 26 in February. And yeah, I think Ben Rice is more of a major league hitter than Munetaka Murakami is because he's made more contact at levels that aren't as good as the MPB, but are still minor league levels. He only struck out 27% of the time in the big leagues in his first time up, and most of his strikeouts were called strikeouts versus swinging strikeouts. And that's a number that I do think that strikeout rate will come down a little bit next year. Murakami's going to strike out like 36% of the time, 37% of the time. And I think that in terms of game power, like Murakami has more, but is it enough to offset the fact that he will strike out 40% of the time? We talk about this with Spencer Jones, where it's like, obviously you want him to hit for a lot of power, but he also, there's a threshold in which you just strike out too much. That threshold does exist. I think Murakami's at that threshold, unfortunately. I hope he gets better again, because he did mention the Yankees by name when he talked about like where he would want to play, but he also mentioned the West Coast. And I know people are going to say, well, he's just going to be a Dodger. Freddie Freeman's their first baseman. Like and Shohei Ohtani's their DH. I doubt that either of those two players move out of that position anytime soon. So, I don't think the Dodgers are going to get him. I think that what will happen is he takes a 1-year deal with the Padres. He rebuilds his value there. And, he either A, flourishes as a big league hitter after that, or B, he is just kind of an afterthought and was a guy who was destined for greatness who just never lived up to that potential. So, yeah, I hate to kind of be the cold water guy for Munetaka Murakami guys, but not only is he probably not a good fit for the Yankees, but I also doubt he will have a lot of impact at the major league level, if not less than Ben Rice is. So take with that what you will.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, you can use that international money differently, for prospects, for guys you're going to develop in your own farm system. So I don't necessarily think this is the right move for the Yankees. I mean, this is a next year type of decision. It's possible that things could change, but I don't get the sense that the decisions they made, Ryan, this offseason were predicated on getting Murakami next year. They wanted Christian Walker on a 3-year deal. They just didn't want to pay him. They wanted to get out after the second season. They wanted to have assurances they could move on. This was their decision this offseason was not based on Murakami's availability in 2026. It was based on the fact that the first base market was thin. They didn't want to overspend. They had a deal on the table for Walker, about $20 million per season, and they decided against it because they would have had to give up more draft capital to get him. And he got a better deal elsewhere. So, I just feel like this is not entirely factual or accurate. I'm not saying that Michael Kay doesn't know what he's talking about. I think that he definitely does. I just don't see the fit here. I think that it's very early to be saying that they're looking for this player next year. I think Ben Rice is still very viable, very, very talented, and I think he's got a tremendous work ethic. I would bet more money that Ben Rice is going to turn out as a very solid MLB player and may have a brighter future than Murakami long term. So, that's kind of what would be my take right now.
Cheap. He's pre-arbitration.
Yeah, pre-arb cheap.
You have to pay like Munetaka Murakami. Here's the difference between him and like a Roki Sasaki. Roki Sasaki came over before he turned 25. Therefore, he has to sign what is essentially a minor league contract and has to take international free agent money. Whereas Munetaka Murakami will take money that counts towards your luxury tax. So if you gave him $10 million, that's $10 million towards luxury tax. If you give him $20 million, that's $20 million towards your luxury tax. So, it's real, like, how do I put this? It is real money. Whereas Roki Sasaki cost literally nothing. So even if Roki Sasaki broke down last year and was awful and was not very good, if he was posted, everyone in baseball would still be interested in him because he costs nothing. You get 3 minor league options. It's truly some special stuff. Whereas, with someone, again, talking about like a Seiya Suzuki, a Masataka Yoshida, yes, these guys all have minor league options and, that's cool and all, but you want to use minor league options for guys who aren't making $10 million a year because it's $10 million a year for a guy who is in the minor leagues. So, Murakami is someone who is a project player. There's nothing wrong with being a project player, but project play, you have to define what a guy is. You have to properly assess their value. I think most people have kind of tagged him as a star immediately, and when the Yankees get him, if the Yankees get him, he'll be a part of this young core, and that was true 2 years ago. 2 years ago, man. Yeah, I would have been pushing the Murakami thing if he was playing the way he was 2 years ago. This year, I would wager this. If he was playing the way he was 2 years ago with league average strikeout rates and ridiculous game power, then yeah, I actually wouldn't want to sign a guy long term to play first base. I genuinely would have been against any multi-year deals at the position, but he's not that. And if you want a long-term option at first base, he's not probably going to be that. Now again, Maybe the Yankees bring him in and they figure out what's wrong with his swing and they hook him up to some biomechanical data, maybe some stuff that they don't have accessible to them in the MPB, and they figure out what's wrong with his swing, they fix it, and he becomes a monster with the Yankees, and it's a Hollywood story, and, he gets his number retired, and he restores the Yankees kind of, he brings the Yankees back into the Japanese market, and, he's another Japanese star that lures other ones into coming to the New York Yankees, and he's a franchise icon at first base, so on and so forth. That's a Hollywood movie, right? Like, that's what that is. That's a Hollywood movie. That's a movie, and that's a story. That's a fairy tale ending. And life isn't about fairy tales in Hollywood. Life is life. And all the numbers point to him not playing very well at the major league level. But again, I hope I'm wrong, because if he were a long-term solution, again, it's a 26-year-old, because it'd be next year, a 26-year-old long-term solution at first base who just hits the ball out of the yard. That would be great. We'll see how teams evaluate him. We'll see how his final year in the MPB goes. If he has a really good year, I think we could both agree, Alex. If he has a good year, we're back on the table for Murakami, right? Like, if he's he's cut the strikeout rate down to like 23, 22%. Honestly, I'd be more in, because he's probably going to be cheap. But if he doesn't do that, I don't see a real reason why the Yankees should sign him. But again, if he does, maybe Hollywood, fairy tale, maybe this is just a fairy tale story where he saves the Yankees and brings them back into the Japanese market. I don't know, man.
Maybe. I mean, we definitely haven't been able to do much work there, so maybe that is partly a reason that they would be interested in him, is to have that link, have a reason. But the thing is, like, the Japanese players all want to be on the West Coast. I mean, Murakami said it himself. He loves the Yankees, but he prefers to be on the West Coast. Closer to Japan, easier flights, the time difference, easier for Japanese fans to watch. Like, it's just not really viable anymore for East Coast teams. Like, it's becoming less of a likelihood that, international talent does come here. I will say this, though, Ryan, I don't know how many more spots the Dodgers have for international talent like that. You know what I mean? Like, how many more positions can they possibly fill? So their team is freaking stacked like I've never seen before. We're talking like the Dodgers have the best roster. I think you tweeted this yesterday or something. One of the best rosters we've seen in our life. Like, I'm 28. What are you, 21? No, 20. You're 20 years old. Like, we have not seen a team like this in our lifetime, as in terms of just overall talent. They have more. It's an embarrassment of riches. If you're an NL team right now, you're like, what? How the hell are we going to compete with these guys? You know what I mean? Like, if you're an AL team, you're like, how the hell are we going to compete with these guys in the World Series? Because that's who you're going to have to take down.
I'm so happy that, like, all these guys have decided to go to the National League. I'm going to be honest with you, man. But I will say this. The Blue Jays just made a trade with the Guardians to acquire $2 million in international free agent money. And the Guardians were able to dump off Miles Straw's contract.
Oof.
And his contract's terrible. I need the Yankees to jump in on this IFA thing. Yo, I don't care if it gets the Dodgers Sasaki. Go be like, yo, dude, here's $2 million. Here's $2 million, because that's what they got. $2 million. The Blue Jays go to the Dodgers and be like, yo, you want $2 million? We'll give you $2 million IFA money. Give us somebody. I want to rob them blind. I want a top 15 prospect from that organization. Give me an arm. Give me somebody that maybe Alex, you can use to flip in a deal for an infielder.
Horner.
Let's dream bigger, Alex.
Brandon?
Let's say I was low-key gonna go. I was gonna say, yo, dude, go up to the Dodgers and be like, hey, because Miles Straw is a bad contract. I need you guys to understand how much value the Guardians got out of this deal. That is a terrible contract. He is not good at baseball. Like, we know he's not good at baseball.
He climbs fences well, though.
He does. Isn't that going to be interesting, though? He's going to be back in the AL East. Like, how is that going to go? Because he hates the Yankees. I mean, granted, I understand why, but, he hates us. So he's owed, it's not that much money. It's $5 million for next year, but he is, legitimately terrible at baseball. He is, horrendous at the sport. This was a really bad extension. Does have 2 club options. I guess maybe that can make him a fun player. But let's say you go up to the Dodgers, be like, here's $2 million in international free agent money. Give us, I'm just going to pull up one of their pitchers. Justin Warbleski. Yeah, there we go. Justin Warbleski. He's a left-handed pitcher. Didn't do great at the major league level this past year, but he's got 95 mile per hour fastball and he's left-handed. You throw hard and you're a lefty, usually that's a good thing for you. Go float one to the Cardinals. Go like, hey, you want him give you our first round pick, Ben Hess. Give you
Dude,
Chase Hampton.
I'll give anything
Genuinely
for Brendan Donovan. Anything. Like, he is the missing. If you want to beat the Dodgers, and that's who you're gonna have to beat in the World Series, most likely, you need a knock 'em out piece. You need an absolute haymaker at this for this last position that the Yankees are trying to address. Jorge Polanco's not solving that for you.
No, I agree.
Ha-Seong Kim is not I love Ha-Seong Kim. He's not solving that for you.
Him on his own, Ha-Seong Kim is probably not the difference between them. Like, if you don't think they can win the World Series right now, which I think it's an extreme take. I think there's enough parity and I think baseball's enough of a high variance sport where a good
momentum,
team can beat
you
a
never
great
know.
team. Yeah, exactly. But Ha-Seong Kim isn't the reason why I think they're good. It's the reason, you know what I mean?
The Yankees have the pitching. The Yankees
Yeah.
have the pitching to win a championship. Like, they have one of the best rotations in the sport, bar none.
Right.
But they're missing that one offensive link that could define a 2 to 3 game. You know what I mean? Like, what side of that equation are they going to be on? The 2 side, or they're going to be on the 3 side? That last infielder is the difference. That's the difference between winning and losing in close margin games.
And this is where
we'll see.
I mentioned, the Yankees need to make an impact move, and I know that this isn't entirely related to Murakami, but we're talking about players and impact players and additions, so this all kind of falls under that. I think the Yankees need to make an impact addition. They need to make an addition that makes them meaningfully better, or a combination of additions that make them meaningfully better. I floated out Tanner Scott as in an article as the Yankees should if his market falls, they should go get him because he doesn't have a qualifying offer and he's just going to cost you money and he's a good player. Now I know that people are going to say, well, we don't need him, and I don't disagree. We don't need him, but he makes you meaningfully better. You get what I'm saying? You talked about close games. This is not you get if you have Tanner Scott on your roster alongside Luke Weaver and Devin Williams, you are just so much better as a roster. Yeah, and then you add I don't know, some random infielder. I don't even care who it is at that point. Yeah, sure, Willie Castro. Cool. That's good enough for me. You've got, decent infielder, someone who's probably above average over the course of a full season. And then you've got a lights-out top 10 relief pitcher to go with your maybe best closer in baseball and another top 10 to top 15 reliever in Luke Weaver, right? That makes you, a 90, 91 win team. You should probably crush the American League with that kind of roster. I don't think I don't think bringing in and I love Tim Hill, but I don't think bringing in Tim Hill and Jorge Polanco is the same feel. Now if you bring in Tim Hill and Brendan Donovan, I'm jumping off the I'm not jumping off anything in a threatening way. I'm jumping for the moon. It'd be great. It'd be sick. You feel the bullpen's complete and the lineup's complete. I'd even say if you were able to bring in Ha-Seong Kim and it's going to be hard to say an upgrade in the left-handed reliever spot because that doesn't really exist. I think Hill is probably the best healthy left-handed reliever. But, let's say you went gung-ho and got, Tanner Scott and Ha-Seong Kim. Oh, my God, you probably are winning, 95, 96, 97, 98 games maybe. But what we want to see is the Yankees make themselves meaningfully better. And we do actually think that the international free agent market is a way the Yankees could benefit from. And if they don't make deals with teams, what they should do is start plucking these guys and start going, all right, Dodgers, you don't want to give us somebody for some international free agent money? We're going to take some of this international free agent money and start signing all the guys that you haven't been able to sign. That's really what the Yankees should be doing. They should either be active in trade talks to use IFA money to get an impact player, or they should use the IFA money to pluck prospects from other organizations that have not finalized their agreements. And by the fact that the Yankees have not finalized some of their international free agent agreements, Alex, it's an indication to me that they're looking to try to do something with it. The Yankees have had these guys lined up for years. They are probably the most, if not one of the most prominent teams on the international free agent market in Latin America. I heavily doubt that the Yankees are struggling to get guys to sign. I think what's happening is that the Yankees have had an alteration in their plans, and I don't think that alteration is signing Roki Sasaki. They're out on him. That alteration, though, is related to Sasaki, and I think it has to do with either trying to move IFA money to get impact players or trying to use their IFA money to bring in more prospects, which could both benefit the Yankees because if you acquire a player, you might be able to flip them, or if you acquire prospects through the international free agent pool, maybe you're more comfortable trading guys. Maybe you're more comfortable saying, fine, I'll trade X, Y, and Z. I also have a theory. Do you think the Yankees are maybe holding out to see if they're going to get Sasaki before making any trades? Because if you get Sasaki, you can't get certain prospects you were potentially projected to get. That could be a thing here as well.
It also opens up everything in terms of do you go sign an infielder or go to trade for one now? I think this does kind of allow them to pivot in a way. I don't know exactly what that pivot is going to look like, but they are, kind of I mean, they're going to definitely sign some international players, and we'll talk about them when the names come out. But the Yankees have had tremendous success developing these international players, and they stock their infield prospects full of international talent, right? From the Dominican, Venezuela, like we've seen a lot of guys climb through the ranks, from these Central American countries. So I do think when you're looking at the Yankees, there's moves left to be made. I just don't really know what they're going to be. I think getting rid of Marcus Stroman is priority number one, though, Ryan, because I think that's holding them up more so than the Sasaki situation.
I will also like to clarify, the Blue Jays took on $15 million in dead money for Miles Stroman.
Oh, God,
for
$2
million in international. Dude, could you dump Stroman and try to a team to give them IFA money?
I mean, I would in a second.
Right? Like, you have
Instead
to
of giving a
imagine that's on the
prospect, why
table.
would you not do that?
You have to imagine that's on the table somewhere. Like, you mean to tell me that every team in baseball could use pitching? I'm sure you could, like, attach Stroman to, like, a reliever or something to get or IFA. I don't know. Or maybe it's not Stroman, but like the value of $15 million is pretty high.
Yeah.
You can get somebody. You can do something with it. The Yankees should try to take advantage of this and get a prospect or try to dump money. Even if they get a prospect, you can always attach a prospect to Stroman and try to dump him like that too. So, the Yankees need to be creative here because this is a unique situation, and unique situations create desperate teams. And I heavily doubt that the Toronto Blue Jays just traded for $15 million in dead money to not really have a chance to get Roki Sasaki. Do you believe that the Blue Jays, maybe the Blue Jays are desperate enough to do it without knowing that Sasaki's going to go there, but I think that's a vote of confidence. I could be wrong, but yeah, I mean, I think we're in lockstep here. Move Stroman, figure out a way to get off that money, try and do something with the international free agent money to coax one of these two teams. God, I wish the Padres still in it because that's a third team you could kind of funnel some resources to, and they would actually, if you gave them international free agent money and Stroman, would they have done that? Who knows? But try to use the international free agent money to your advantage. Take advantage of the Sasaki situation, even though you didn't get the guy, and then dump Stroman's money and let's finish this thing strong. This offseason's got to finish strong. I don't want to be sitting here and talking about DJ LeMahieu hitting ninth or Oswaldo Cabrera hitting ninth. I don't want to be talking about the fact that we've got no lefties in our bullpen, or the lefty is a guy that. No lefties in our bullpen. Quite honestly, the Yankees could take anybody and turn them into an impact reliever. Maybe I'm not too concerned there. I want a meaningful addition. I think you and I want a meaningful addition to this roster that we look at and go, yep, this guy makes the Yankees a good bit better. Let's go win the American League. That kind of feel.
Yeah, I mean, we've been pounding the table for that last move for quite some time now, and I'm more so just curious because doing nothing at least leaves some speculation, and we don't know necessarily what's going to shake free in the coming weeks, but I think Stroman's contract and moving that is going to be the priority, and that will really expose ourselves to a lot more options based on how much money we have, what kind of contracts we can fit into our luxury situation, because we're at 303 mil and the last threshold is 301. I think they want to stay below that. So, depending on how much money we can get back from Stroman's contract, that'll be the most important variable in this equation. But guys, always happy to hear your thoughts down below on Murakami. And if you like him, we are just Ben Rice stands. So I think we're going to stand by that for now. And hopefully he continues his development. But always happy to hear your thoughts. As always, make sure to like, subscribe, drop a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.
Perfect.